Hi, folks. It's time to talk about the deeper truths of Naaman's cleansing. Coos Preschool is talking about Naaman being cleansed of leprosy in the River Jordan. Let's talk about this story and how it really means something special for all of us. Once upon a time, there was a commander of Syria whose name was Naaman, and he had gotten much success with his commanding, and so he had a lot of high favor with the king of Syria. Really important guy, but he was a leper. And leprosy, of course, is this skin disease. In the Bible, we're not quite sure what the disease was, but it had the reputation of really being a death sentence. Not just a death sentence, meaning it was incurable, but it was death in you. It was death on you. You looked like a zombie. And this is why in the Old Testament priesthood, they had to make sure that you were free of leprosy in order to come to church. Boy, this kind of sounds familiar. But leprosy was not merely a health concern, it was a ritual concern. If you had death on you, well, that means God's displeasure. That means death. And so God is a God of life. Anyhow, Naaman was this Syrian commander with leprosy. But one of the Syrian armies had taken a young girl from Israel to be the servant in Naaman's home. And so she heard about the leprosy of Naaman, and she said, my lady, your husband should go to Samaria, for there is a prophet of the Lord, and he would be healed of his leprosy if he went. Naaman then heard this, thought, it might as well, talk to his king, and the king said, go ahead, go to Samaria, go to the nation of Israel and be healed. The king wrote up a letter to the king of Israel and said, when you receive this letter, know that I am sending my commander Naaman for you to heal him of his leprosy. And so Naaman shows up with his chariots and a bunch of people, and he's bringing gold and silver and 10 sets of clothes for payment for this miracle. And he shows up at the king's front door, and the king of Israel reads the letter, and he tears his robe. Ah, why did he do that? Well, think about what he's thinking. Politically, it's like, this king of Syria, he's trying to start a fight with me. I'm not God. I can't heal a man of his leprosy. Ah, he tears his robe open. But then Elisha, the prophet, the guy that we're talking about in the first place, the guy that actually he's the target of Naaman, he hears about this and he sends word to the king of Israel, why have you torn your robes? Send him to me. Then he will know that there is a God in Israel. So that's where Naaman goes next. He takes all his men, chariots, horses, whatever, gold, silver, changes of clothes, goes to Elisha's house. And Elisha doesn't come out. Doesn't even come out. He sends a messenger out there to Naaman and says, Naaman, the prophet tells you to dip yourself in the Jordan River 7 times and you will be cleansed of your leprosy. And that's it. And Naaman hears this and his reaction is to get angry. He gets mad. And he turns around to leave, and he's so mad because, number one, Elisha the prophet did not come out to him. You could say it hurt his feelings, or you could say he disrespected. He showed no respect for Naaman's position. And Naaman had gotten used to this, of course. Number two, he told him to wash in the river. The Jordan River, which certainly didn't have much of a reputation, wasn't the cleanest of rivers. If Elijah had wanted to, he could have waved his hand over the place of the leprosy and cleansed the leper. That's what Naaman says. I thought he was going to come out to me and wave his hand over the place and cleanse the leprosy. So he's angry about this. But Naaman's men speak to him and say, my father, it is a difficult word that the prophet has spoken to you. Will you not do it? Did he actually say, wash in the Jordan River and you will be cleansed? So I guess upon reconsidering this, Naaman believes, he consents to the order. He goes in the Jordan River, dunks himself 7 times. Oh, and here I got the picture. And he comes out and his flesh is cleaned like the flesh of a baby. So this leprosy goes away. This is how God decided to cleanse the leprosy of Naaman. He could have chosen any way he wanted to, but instead he directs Naaman to some waters. And Naaman either believes that word or he does not believe that word. And after this, he's a changed man. He comes back, he realizes that there's a God in Israel who cleansed me of my leprosy, and he brings the gold and the silver and the changes of clothing to Elisha. Here you go, and offers it to him. Elisha declines the offer. It says, no, we're not accepting any payment here. The teaching, of course, is clear that Naaman, with his pomp and circumstance, with his situation, with his authority in life, none of this stuff appeals to God. None of this stuff is the reason God does anything good for us. And when you come bringing those things, trying to make a trade with God, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get what God has for you. You must come empty. You must come believing what he asks you, where he points you to find his gifts. So even this, he won't accept any payment. And so instead, Naaman gets this interesting idea. He says, then, instead, if you won't accept any payment, then let me take some handfuls of dirt from your country back to my country, because I want to worship your God. And when I am in the house of the God of Syria, because I have to help my master, please pardon my sins if I have to bow to that false god. This is an amazing conclusion to the story. And of course, later, as you read on, one of Elisha's servants deceptively decides to take that gold and silver, receive it, as it were, and he gets leprosy because of it. So again, folks, this is a very practical story for us. Why? It shows us that God is interested not in our good works, not in our wealth, not what we can offer him, but he is interested in the heart who believes what he says, who expects all good things from him, and will go even the most strange or silly place to get his good things. God always located himself in the Old Testament. He was always saying, I will dwell with my people Israel. This is the house on which I will put my name. These are the waters in which you will find healing. Jesus was baptized in that same river Jordan, you remember? And he said, I want you to baptize all people, teaching them all things I have commanded you. And so we Christians, we look to the waters in which we were baptized, and we say, looks like ordinary water. I didn't pay for my baptism. I didn't do anything good to earn God's favor. He simply gave it to me and washed me. Have a good day, everybody. We'll see you next time.